Hell nah, man. Hell nah. I didn't even realize how ironic and how hilarious this entire Edmonton-Montreal conversation happens to be when you acknowledge where everything comes from. And I mean everything. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. We're talking once more about the Oilers and the Canadiens. We've made a stream of videos over the past few days. Every single day there's a new thing to talk about with Edmonton and Montreal, and y'all seem to be eating up the content, so I'm very much appreciative of that. But also, I'm enjoying making these videos because there's just so much extra stuff to go over, like what we have on today's chopping block. Let's take a look at what Darren Dreger ends up saying in regards to the Oilers and their goaltending search. This came to us from TSN 690 Montreal Radio from yesterday, and the audio hit is going to be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to it. The tweet reads this: "Here are some trade possibilities between Montreal and Edmonton." Darren Dreger joins McKenna and Sean Starr with more, and of course the link is over there. Now, because I don't want to use the quote from the article by copying and pasting the audio, we're just going to go over to some quotes and read what exactly it is that Dreger ends up saying and why this actually is kind of crazy. So, to help us out, we're going over onto hockeypatrol.com because this article by Graham Montgomery goes out there and summarizes, or not even summarizes, but it directly quotes what Darren Dreger says in the audio, so it's easier for me to screenshot, put it on the screen, etc., etc. Major trade between the Canadiens and the Oilers. Insider reveals the potential impact this rumor can have on both squads. Link is going to be in the description to this article as well if you want to read this and more about it. So, the article starts out by saying that according to TSN reporter and NHL insider Darren Dreger, the Oilers are close to finalizing a deal that would see Canadiens goaltender Sam Montembeault dealt to the blue and orange. Then there is a specific quote from Dreger himself. "If we're connecting the dots in Edmonton one more time, guess where we're going? We're talking about Xavier Bourgault and maybe something else. I don't know. I think that would get the attention of Kent Hughes and management of the Canadiens, but given where the Oilers are, maybe you can make it a little more extravagant. Maybe you can build it into something bigger. Do we say blockbuster?" Now, blockbuster is a pretty loose term that you could use to define anything. Heck, NHL fans seem to throw that term around ironically nowadays. But if you wanted to talk about the idea of Montembeault for Bourgault, this is nothing new. We've discussed that the Canadiens wanted Bourgault already in a few videos now. He's the prospect taken by the Oilers in the 2021 NHL Entry Draft, and we will get into more as to why that is so gosh darn funny as we get along in this video, but we also did talk about in other commentaries that, hey, the Oilers are interested in a goaltender, the Canadiens had 3, and because of the interest, or at least extended interest, into Sam Montembeault rather than Allen or Primo, it would make more sense if Montembeault is the guy to end up going. Is that new? No, that's not really new. It's just Darren Dreger going out there and saying that the trade is imminent and that it might happen. But the reason this is so ironic, and the reason this is so funny to me, is because of a tweet made by Shaden that discusses what exactly happened here. Darren Dreger said Bourgault for Montembeault could happen. We, the Edmonton Oilers, passed on Jesper Wallstedt to take Bourgault. The Oilers are the worst organization in the world. And when I saw this, my mind just kind of clicked in a way that it hasn't clicked in a while. I said to myself, oh, wait a minute, right, that was the case here. Xavier Bourgault was a prospect drafted in 2021 by the Oilers, and if you take a look at where the draft picks and everything came from, it gets really sad. This is because if you wanted to talk about Jesper Wallstedt, this is a guy who is 21 years old. He's playing in the AHL right now. He's got a .928 save percentage, a .214 goals against in 9 games. He has been a beast as one of the best young goaltenders the NHL has seen. He is what a lot of people would say, a franchise goaltending prospect. And when it comes to the young guys that are going to take over and win Vezinas over and over again, Wallstedt is amongst that cream of the crop. It's Wallstedt, you've got Askarov, Spencer Knight you could toss in there, and then of course the other guys that are a little bit older, like the Demkos, the Sheshurkins, the Sorokins, etc., etc. Jesper Wallstedt is in that caliber of goaltending prospect. And in 2021, when he was draft eligible, everybody knew this was the #1 goaltender available in the draft. until the Red Wings selected Sebastian Cossa over him, but that's another thing. Either way, the Oilers actually had themselves an opportunity to draft Wallstedt with the 20th overall pick. This is because their own pick in 2021 ended up landing in this spot, but instead of taking the easy choice, instead of drafting Jesper Wallstedt, a goaltender who would address a need, because back in this time frame, I mean, who were your goalies back then? Mike Smith? Mikko Koskinen? Like, sure, you had Stuart Skinner in the system, but you could never have too many amazing goaltenders in the pipeline. And the Oilers ended up trading down with the Minnesota Wild from 20th to 22nd to get themselves an extra third-round pick. Now, the Wild went from 22 to 20. They drafted Wallstedt instead. He is doing fantastically well. And with the 22nd overall pick, the Oilers selected Xavier Bourgault. The third-round pick became Luka Munzenberger, whom we discussed about as a guy who... I mean, really, he's just a guy. This is not really that much of a needle mover to the point that, oh yeah, it's worth it to go from Jesper Wallstedt to Xavier Bourgault because Luka Munzenberger is coming in here to save the day. That guy's playing in the NCAA. He's got 0 points in 6 games played. He had 5 points in 28 games last year, and the year before that, he had 3 points in 32 games. Luka Munzenberger, even as a defensively minded shutdown D, is not going to be the savior of the franchise. And so when you think about the idea of the Oilers trading down from Jesper Wallstedt for Xavier Bourgault and Munzenberger, that trade was seen as a total travesty of asset management 2 years ago when it was made. During the draft stream, we made videos. Wait a minute, they traded down from getting Wallstedt. Why did they do that? And now, it's 2023, 2024, and you're telling me that the main guy the Oilers are probably going to trade away to get a goaltender to address their needs is the guy that they passed on Jesper Wallstedt for? It all comes full circle. This is hella ironic. And you can talk about, irony versus coincidence, English majors come in here, let me know the difference, but that is just a huge slap in the face from the hockey gods. To have this plan so eloquently planned out back in 2021, oh yeah, we don't need Wallstedt, let's trade down, let's get Xavier Bourgault, let's draft that German kid who's going to play in the NCAA and Luka Munzenberger, and that is a more worthwhile investment for us, rather than just taking the franchise goalie that was one of the best young players the SHL has ever seen in net in the past 20 or 30 years. Never mind the Henrik Lundqvist comparisons and everything. Let's just trade down. Let's get Xavier Bourgault instead. And now 2 years later, we gotta trade Bourgault away, we gotta get a goalie. Oh my goodness, the asset management is crazy to pay attention to. And it doesn't make it any more better when you acknowledge what happened last night. The Oilers played against the Carolina Hurricanes, and... look, the game wasn't that bad of a score. 6-3 is not the worst thing in the world, but the fact that it was 4-0 Carolina 15 minutes into the game kind of tells the entire story. The Oilers had a goaltending showcase of a lifetime with Stuart Skinner in net to open out this game. 8 saves on 12 shots in about 15 minutes of time on ice. He gets yanked. He has a .666 save percentage on the night. Calvin Pickard comes back in here. He lets in 1 goal on 14 shots. That guy was pretty gosh darn good. And the Carolina Hurricanes stomp. Once a game is 4-0, it's very difficult to find anything to actually see value in beyond that point. Everything else is pretty much just filler from that point on. So the fact that it was... let's just say, 3-2 Edmonton after it was 4-0? It doesn't matter. They lost the game, and they lost in pretty convincing fashion within the first 15 minutes. That's all it took for Stuart Skinner to show off that he really hasn't improved much. Jack Campbell's doing okay in the AHL now. He gets a shutout, so good for him. He kind of needed that. We'll get a little bit more into Jack Campbell and the conversations around him later in the show today. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire irony, the ironic trade idea that Darren Dreger said is more likely possible than not. That Xavier Bourgault is probably going to get traded for Samuel Montembeault from the Oilers to the Canadiens, and it just so happens that Bourgault is the guy that the Oilers sacrificed a draft pick to get Jesper Wallstedt in order to get instead. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but I think the story, the narrative kind of fits into a way that's sort of easy to understand. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How ironic is this? And is it really as funny as I'm making it out to be? Because I think this is darn funny. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.